Notice the muzzle flip on the heavier round.
Oh.
That's squared away.
Uh-oh.
Hey! That is a great technique. Man, would this be an easy miss in the gun cabinet at your local store. You're looking over the Glocks, the Smith & Wessons, the SIGs, the Walthers, all the other combat pistols, and maybe you would just glance over this and go, I don't know about that gun. And it's kind of obscure. I didn't even know about this gun 6 months ago, to be totally honest with you, about the brand. Grand Power, produced in Slovakia. I didn't know anything about it. You know what? I kind of like it that way, because I arrived to the pistol fresh, other than perhaps some original biases on its looks. So I took it out of the case, started looking at it and go, it's different. Imported currently by Century Arms. It's had other importers, this brand, and it will probably have more importers as time goes on. This is serial number, by the way, reviewed in TMP 3kilo-00646. Took it out of the gun case and I was like, I kind of like how that feels in hand. I mean, that's a really comfortable grip. It's not too heavy. You know what? I was like, hey, I think I'm going to review this. This is fresh blood for the gun show, and it's a different option. And I kind of like different. It's nice covering different, and it's nice covering a brand that is a little bit more obscure. Now, specifically, this is the Grand Power P1, I believe Mark 7. I think the Mark 12 is the newest version, and it will be perhaps a little more desirable than this one. But if you go to your local gun store and say, hey, do you have a Grand Power P1, you're going to get probably the Mark 12. There's some other versions of Grand Power pistols that perhaps in the months and years to come I will review, kind of like the full-sized K100. That has a 4.3 inch barrel. This is a more compact Grand Power version. They got a K100 in X trim. It has a ventilated slide. It's kind of slated for competitive shooting. You have the P1 that I'm holding here. The P1 Ultra, that also I think has a ventilated slide. I could be off on that. And then you have a P40 series. The thing I learned about Grand Power is they are really kind of gearing their pistols towards, and this is awesome by the way, the competitive shooter. Why is that awesome? Well, as you'll see, this thing has a really good trigger in it with a really short reset. That, I've always said, is helpful to the competitor, where microseconds count. And I guess I'll cover it now. And you can see this is not a hammer drop safety, so this is kind of a condition 1 affair. with this version of the P1, the Mark 7. And do I care about that? Kind of, I do. I like a hammer drop safety, I really do. But I could live with it, especially for the price. I could totally live with it. And it's a very positive safety. It doesn't snick off like a lot of 1911s I've reviewed. Well, I haven't reviewed that many 1911s. The few I've reviewed, let's say that. So the trigger, let's check it out. So I'm in cocked and locked right now. Here comes the trigger scale. Competitive roots, that's what you need to know about Grand Power, dude. And is a trigger super important to you? I like it. 412 on that pull. That seems about what I got before too. 4.6. Very, very nice trigger pull on the Grand Power P1 right here. Here's reset. Look how short. Did you see that? I mean, it's right there. That is a competitive advantage. I've always said that. Warfighting advantage, I've never bought it. No one shoots a reset like that. Pistols are so seldom used in warfare. Let's get real. They are. They're very seldom. They're backup pieces. Go look in the history of warfare. How often has a pistol won a battle? Not very, Nutton. You are correct, sir. Now the double action pull, my scale won't show this, but it's going to be about 10 pounds. So smooth, very smooth actually. It reminds me of SIG, except I perceive it to be a little bit lighter than SIG's. Cool. Philosophy of use will be standard, by the way, on this non-feature length pistol GRV. That is to say, home defense gun, absolutely. Concealed carry, maybe. I'm going to show you something that concerns me about that. Vehicle pistol, yep. Just all around WRL, go to war pistol. Yeah, I would say so. Does that surprise you on this new brand? Kind of, Nutton. Well, you'll see this gun is pretty incredible. And the Grand Power as a brand has an excellent reputation in Europe. It's new to America, but it's not new to Europe is my understanding. Very established name, very established brand in Europe, especially, again, in competitive circles. I'll leave philosophy of use there. SAWC design and ergos. It's not the lightest polymer pistol around. With the magazine in it, it's 27.5 ounces. So, we'll say, to be generous, 2 ounces heavier than a Glock. Okay, and just because I have it here comes a Glock right here. Right up in here. So that's what, 24.5 ounces, the Glock. The Glock still, I've said it before, dudes, it's still setting standards for SAWC. It always has. There's some others that meet it, like I think I have one here too. Like the Walther PPQ. Here comes the freaking long slide version. That one meets it. That one's a light gun. Whew, love that Walther. Especially that long slide. That is just ill. Totally ill. 27.5 ounces. But let me bottom line it is that is definitely light enough where I am interested. Where my interest wanes, where it falls off with a polymer pistol is when it's around 29 and above ounces. Then I just go, why? Usually. The P9 I just reviewed, the CZ, I loved it, but that was a very high capacity gun. It was suppressor ready, so it was basically the same way as the P226. I kind of gave that one a little bit of a pass, just for rounds capacity. Okay, I did say in philosophy of use that I don't know if this would be the absolute best decision as a concealed carry piece, and here's why. This dimension here is chunky. I measure it to be 1.37 inches at its widest point. That is a controls, or 35 millimeters thick, if I'm remembering correctly. By way of reference, here comes a Glock 17. It is 1.18 inches wide, and it's very trim with no protruding controls. Is that important to you? Well, if you're carrying inside the waistband, it should be, my friend. It should be important to you. It definitely is to me. If I carried it in like a shoulder holster, it would be less noticeable, I think. Less noticeable. Okay, just something to think about. Standard pick rail here. You got forward, aft cocking serrations. That's all good. Really high quality on the whole gun. I'm impressed. Fit and finish on the gun is just excellent. I like it. Taking a look at it. The top of the slide is a little bit shinier than I would like it to be, albeit it's coated in oil right now because I cleaned it down. On this loaner pistol from that awesome gun store at the top that made this review possible, by the way. Go tell Wyatt hi and tell him thank you for the loaner. Makes this gun show possible. Yeah, I have a couple affiliated gun stores that are helping TMP out in the independent reviewing voice that I like putting out there. There's your sights on the Grand Power P1. They are traditional 3-dot variety, non-trits. No issues whatsoever with sights. It's funny, I always talk in my reviews about how I'm a trigger snob, kind of, especially with AR-15s. I don't know if I'm a trigger snob with pistols, but I do like good sights, and sights that are really presentable and precise. My favorite are probably the Heine straight 8s tritiums. I just love them. They just are so clean. And anything that comes close to that, not these, I'll rave about. These are plenty good. They could probably be cleaned out, and you might put, I don't know, a different coloration on them if you wanted to. Just like I mentioned in the LCP2 review. Trigger guard is squared. Thank you. And enlarged for gloves. Double thank you. Trigger face is excellent. It's just standard. No trigger paddle here like we talked about. There's your slide release. There's your safety. Magazine is completely ambi already. You don't have to swap nothing over. The mag button is not going to be inadvertently pressed. And it's totally adequate, says me. Texturing on the grip kind of reminds me of a Smith & Wesson M&P series. That is to say, it's not great. There's not a lot of traction going on here. It really needs some decal grip or a grip. Or just a grip modification, what a lot of guys do. So they'll give it the rough texturizing with a solder iron or something. The P1 would look really cool that way, by the way. Quick look at the magazine well. No magazine disconnect safety. There's your magazine. I'm not sure who makes this. It might be Metgar. Sure looks good. That looks like a Metgar finish on it. Really nice finish. I'm sure the forums are all over this. They know exactly where that comes from. I didn't look it up. But the magazine's fine. Firepower is 15+1, which is adequate. It's good. I mean, it's not a super long dimension right here. So 15+1 is in the ballpark. Ambidextrous safety and slide release. I forgot to mention that. So it's a good lefty pistol for you lefties out there like my buddy Mike Jardine. Oh, I forgot to mention this. Steel back sight, and I think that's a polymer front sight here. I could be wrong. I think that's polymer though. Ergonomics. Let me say this. Shooting the Grand Power P1 was super fun. Loved it. I could shoot this gun all day. You talk about smooth, controllable, rapid follow-up shots. You're seeing it in video inset. Man, I love shooting this gun. I'm really surprised I'm saying that. But what you get from TMP is no bias, fresh sheet of paper, and I just tell it the way it is. And I love shooting this Grand Power. It is awesome. Really an excellent gun. And it was a privilege to be able to review it, really. Highly recommended. Track record was flawless. With jacketed hollow points, with full metal jackets. The gun just chug, 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 chug. Just a great gun. And that takes us to accuracy, which is also phenomenal. This is standing 12 yards in the freaking desert with the Grand Power P1. Look at that. That's standing. That's Fiocchi 124 grain JHP XTP rounds. Remington Golden Saber 124 grain. Fiocchi GHP. That's Golden Saber. Here's American Eagle right here. American Eagle FMJs. As accurate as any other pistol I brought to the table, I would say. That's saying a lot, by the way. Fiocchi 115 JHPs. There's Golden Saber. By the way, I really love Golden Sabers. They have always been accurate. They are a very consistent bullet. They throw accurately. Remington 115 JHP. Just, I mean, these are basically going into a 1-inch square. That's 8 yards standing. And again, those are standing. So I will say phenomenal accuracy, really. And then accessories. Well, there's always a downside, right? And the downside is this is kind of a strange duck. It's not going to be sold in any large numbers. Let's not kid ourselves. I don't think. Maybe this review might in some small way help to change that. Whether you get the Mark 7 version or the Mark 12 version, I don't know. but there's not going to be a ton of specific built holsters for it. You're probably going to have to get a universal holster. There's not going to be a bunch of different sight sets, trigger modifications for, I think. Now, in Europe, like I said, the competition scene is using the gram powers more. Maybe there's an accessory market over there. But honestly, if you plan on accessorizing your pistol a lot, you probably ought to steer away from this. Because I don't think there's a lot of options there. Oh, I forgot to mention field strip. I'm not going to do it on table. I did it off camera, and it was a little bit tricky, actually. That's one thing, I guess, a negative I would say about the Gram Power P1 is the field strip is just a little bit tedious. I can't remember if I took pictures. I may have or may not have. And the Mark 12, I think, is a little bit easier to field strip. It's tricky, whatever. You can look it up online. But would it be enough to dissuade me from buying the gun? Absolutely not. It wouldn't. Price. Well, let's take a look. By the way, here's the case that it comes in. Right here. So Gunny's was selling this for $460 at the time of this review. So P1 Mark 7. And let's see, accessories that it come. Oh, it did come with 2 magazines. I forgot to mention that. That's a plus. I mean, FN comes with 3. That's even better. And it has interchangeable back straps in it. Is it worth it? Yeah, totally worth it. But it also puts it in the realm of some pretty stiff competition. And speaking of the stiff competition, well, I already showed you this. The Glock, of course. It's always Glock, nothing. Not really. I've covered a lot of brands. Glock's just one of them. Yeah, I still love Glocks, but I give fair love to everybody. Where did that freaking other pistol go? Right here. Here it is. We're talking about price. We're talking about value. This would be in the running, dudes. So we've got this FNS right here. So here it is, basically the same price, $469. And having tested the FNS, it's actually pretty good. And you get 3 magazines with that. FN quality. You will have perhaps a few more accessories. The FNS in our testing had a couple stoppages early on. You can't lip wrist it, but mostly is pretty excellent. Yeah, it's just a couple options here. Canik TP9 comes to mind. The Ruger SR9 comes to mind. The Ruger American pistol, I think, is not good. I don't recommend that still. I think it's gaudy and it's a committee pistol. I'd steer away from it. And a whole bunch of others I'm not even going to mention because I'm going to wrap it up. Dude, under 20-minute GRV? Wow. That is amazing, man. That's it, though. P1, therefore, I think is a fabulous pistol. I think it's extraordinarily accurate. It's extremely reliable. Relatively lightweight. It is thick. I don't like that part about it. The Mark 7 you're seeing here is probably bye-bye, but the Mark 12 would be even better. It's just a cool gun. If you collect pistols and like something different to shoot with your friends, I didn't really talk about that, the recreational philosophy of use, look into it. Definitely worth it. Nutnfancy. Nice. Really good job. Drop it. Kneeling over the wood. Over the wood. There you go. Slow down. Aim lower. Love it. It's awesome. It's awesome. It's a great pistol. One run is all it takes. I'm gonna run it again. Not crazy. It's really good.